Somit sind Sie mit Übergabe dieser Einbürgerungsurkunde offiziell deutsche Staatsangehörige. Herzlichen Glückwunsch! Danke!
Germany made the biggest change in its citizenship law in 25 years, and last year they changed it again. You can get your citizenship in 5 years instead of 8. You can keep your original passport. The 3-year fast track that made the headlines in 2024 gone. It was abolished as of 1st November 2025. I went through this whole process and got my Einbürgerungsurkunde.
Hallo, ich bin eine deutsche Mensch.
And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 7-step process I used, what still works in 2026, what got rolled back, and what are the 2 parts where most foreigners spend the most time. From one German to another? Can I say another? I'm Ada. I work in HR here in Germany, and I'm currently a German-Nigerian dual citizen. I'm not only going to give you the legal part of it as an HR, but also the lived experience part, the things that I experienced, the things I did that helped me get my citizenship today. At the end of this video, you would know the 7 steps in order, what to check before you even start, the 2 documents that take the longest, the language level you actually need, the test everyone is worried about but almost no one fails, and what to actually expect on the day you pledge your allegiance to the Grundgesetz. 2 of these steps trip me up personally. I'll tell you what they were so that you don't waste time the way I did. So save this video, you're going to need it, especially if you started your whole process when the 8-year rule was still a thing and you're currently confused. I hope this video is going to shed some light on that. For context, I came to Germany in August 2019. I started my school in September, and then I started working as a working student 6 months after I came. And I've been working since, except for now that I'm currently on maternity leave. I applied September last year, that's September 2025. After my son was born, I waited until he was born to see if I could apply with him. But his documents, I still have some issues with birth certificate, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I finally sent him my application, but he even got his passport before me because the state already recognized that he was eligible. And when I went to pick up his birth certificate, they now gave me the document with which I used to apply for his passport. It's important that you check your eligibility before you even start filling out any of the forms. If you are not eligible, your application could get rejected, and your rejection can follow you through your application process. To check your eligibility, you first need to consider your residence. Your residence starts counting from the moment you had your first Anmeldung in Germany, not necessarily when you first arrived into Germany. So it has to be from when you first had your Anmeldung registration, which is your Meldebescheinigung. So you need to check that, and with that, you begin to calculate your 5 years stay in Germany. Number 2, your finances. You need to financially support yourself and not depend on the government for Arbeitslosengeld or Bürgergeld. There are also narrow exceptions, for example, those that are on parental leave or those that are unable to work due to illness. However, on a general note, you need to be able to financially support yourself or be dependent on your spouse. Another thing to keep in mind is that you need to have no serious criminal record. Little fines here and there might not be a problem, but anything larger than that could be an issue and it will affect your application. You also need to have German at a B1 level. A1 and A2 are not accepted. C1 is no longer continued because the 3-year fast track system has been abolished, and so you don't need a C1 anymore. However, for the B1, you just saying you can speak German up to B1 level is not enough. You actually need to pass the German language exam. I'm going to talk about that in more details as we go further in the video. And finally, a commitment to a free democratic order. So a public declaration of anti-Semitism, racial hatred, or undemocratic regime would not be accepted, and they are very strict on it. So if you have any of these things lingering somewhere, it will definitely affect your application for citizenship.
That's my cue.
Good morning and welcome to the first day for the rest of my life. My voice has already, I don't know, my voice is currently on life support, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because heute ich bin Deutsche. So today, I'm gonna get naturalized. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm so happy, you guys. I've dreamt of this day. I have. My problem now is that they should not hear my Koi should not expect me to speak Koi German. Hey, to speak fluent German. My prayer is that I'm able to understand everything they talk to me about, and I'm able to respond. But you know how it's like when you now reach. And I used to speak German before. Yeah, will not be my portion, no, in Jesus' name. Everything's going to go smoothly, smoothly, smoothly.
This part actually takes longer than most people expect. And mind you, it's not a self-assessment. It's not by saying I speak German. You actually need to pass the German language certificate assessed by the 4 criteria: speaking, listening, writing, and reading. You need to pass these 4 test points in order for you to prove that you have your language proficiency. In Germany, some of the exams that are recognized for this include Goethe, TELC, OSD, and DTZ exams. The most common ones are Goethe and TELC. And in my own personal experience, I would advise you not to write Goethe exam, write the TELC, because it's easier to pass. I wrote the Goethe exam and the reading kept me stuck for I wrote the reading exam multiple times before I finally passed it, but with the TELC, it's relatively easier to pass. So in case you're wondering, should I write Goethe, should I write TELC, just go for TELC so that you have peace of mind. While you're preparing for your language exam, you can in pari pursue write your Einbürgerungstest, or at least prepare for the Einbürgerungstest. The Einbürgerungstest is a 33 multiple question quiz, 30 of which focuses on German politics, history, and society, and 3 focus on your exact Bundesland where you live. You need to get 17 of these questions correct for you to pass the Einbürgerungstest. And to be honest, a lot of people are afraid of writing the Einbürgerungstest because they feel like they're going to fail it. But to be honest, it's easier to pass the Einbürgerungstest than it is to pass the B1 exam, I tell you. I didn't tell you guys, I'm not gathering my documents. One tip you should have in mind is that your documents should all be translated, officially translated. All right, so I had my documents, my birth certificate, my study documents, virtually any document that I had that was not in German, I translated to German officially. So whenever you're submitting your documents to the Bürgeramt, have everything translated. It's easier. It makes your application much faster. And the documents you need to gather, aside those that you need to translate, are, as I mentioned, your birth certificate, not just for yourself, also for your spouse, especially if you're married, both translated. Your marriage certificate, if it's not translated, have this translated as well. All your current and expired German residence permits, your current passport. You need to have a proof of income in the last 12 to 14 months. So your pay slip, your tax documents, your Steuerbescheid, every single thing that proves your finances here in Germany. Then, of course, your Einbürgerungstest and your German language test. Get all these documents and make sure that you have every single thing. I would advise that you don't submit your application if you don't have all of your documents, because if you submit without having your documents, it will set your application back. Because imagine that they're processing hundreds of applications per month, per day, and you submit your documents without having every single thing that they need. They'll just carry your thing and keep one side because they feel like you're not a serious person. So it's better you have everything, submit everything to them at once. If possible, have everything in a single PDF when you're submitting. That way, it gives a more comprehensive application. Leading to the next step, which is, of course, submitting your documents. As I mentioned, have all your documents translated and apostilled if possible, and have them in one single PDF pocket so that when you submit everything at once and not submitting 10 different documents or 20 different documents in different PDFs. Put everything in one single PDF. To submit, you have to look for the right Einbürgerungsbehörde in your city. Submission can actually happen online. I did mine online in Berlin. I don't know for other cities. I think I've heard that for some cities you have to submit by post. You have to print and send documents by post, which I would not be surprised because it's Germany. However, for Berlin, we submitted via website online. So you put all the documents there, you fill the form, put all the documents, upload everything that you need to upload, and then submit. Now you've submitted your application, the next step is to wait. On an average, it takes 6 to 24 months to wait, depending on your city. For me, it took about 6 to 7 months, to be honest. Keep in mind that when you apply, do not travel out of Germany and stay for a long period of time, longer than 6 months. Because if you stay longer than 6 months, it resets the continuous residence requirement that you need to be continuously living in Germany for 6 months. So don't apply and leave Germany for a long period of time. It's also important that after a couple of months, say 3, 4, or 5 months, you send a polite email with your reference number to check on the status of your application.
When I applied, my friends and I applied together, so we are 3 of us. So one of us applied in August, another person applied in September, and then another person applied after I had applied. And then one day we were just gisting. The one that applied after I had applied now told me that he has gotten his passport. I'm like, I applied before you, what happened? Then I said that he kept sending them his payslip every month, but they didn't respond. Mind you, the friend that applied before I did was also doing the same thing. I'm currently on maternity leave, so I don't technically have payslip to be sending to them every month. So I wasn't doing any of that. I was just waiting and hoping on God, essentially. So I now asked him what he did. He said that when he was sending them payslip, they weren't responding to him. And he decided to now send them like a very nice, message to say, oh, I want to check in on the progress of my application, blah, blah, blah. And they responded. So he sent me the template that he used in sending them the message. I sent them the message and they responded to me. And so I sent the message to my friend and they responded to her. That's how they responded to us, essentially.
Whenever you're sending this follow-up email, it's important that you also add your most recent payslips. If at the end of 12 months you don't hear back from them, then you're entitled to something called the Untätigkeitsklage, known as the failure to act lawsuit, which you can file through the Verwaltungsgericht, and it helps them get your file looked at within weeks. For me, I mentioned that it took about 6 to 7 months to get a response, and to be honest, because I'm currently on parental leave, I did not necessarily have a payslip to send to them each month, as a reminder. I know that on their website they say not to contact them except they ask you to. I will advise that you reach out to them after 4 or 5 months of your application. It doesn't mean you should reach out to them every single month. Anyways, long story short, I sent everything to them. They accepted my application, and the following week they reached out to me telling me that my Einbürgerung was approved and I should come for my ceremony.
Never knew that I would put myself out there. Scary to be visionary, but you came in at just the right time. Yeah, you came in and blew my mind. Never knew that I could make a work of art. Never knew I had it in me. My canvas stayed blank for so long.
Okay, let's go.
Wenn Sie bereit sind, dann dürfen Sie mir das einmal laut vortragen.
Okay. Ich erkläre feierlich, dass ich das Grundgesetz und die Gesetze der Bundesrepublik Deutschland achten und alles unterlassen werden, was ihr sagen könnte.
Vielen Dank. Somit sind Sie mit Übergabe dieser Einbürgerungsurkunde offiziell deutsche Staatsangehörige. Herzlichen Glückwunsch. Danke. Wenn Sie keine Fragen haben, dann bin ich tatsächlich schon fertig. Dann dürfen Sie gehen und ich wünsche Ihnen alles, alles Gute. Danke, danke.
Ich bin ein deutscher Mensch.
I'm back from my naturalization ceremony, and I just wanted to do a quick recap of what happened. So today, when I got to the location, it took me a while to even find the place. I don't know, maybe because I was a bit nervous, and then I don't know, a lot of things happened this morning, Sha. We found the place.
I got in, I did the swearing in, answered a lot of questions and all of that. The most important thing, though, that the reason I'm actually saying this, the most important thing you should pick out of this is that if you're going for a naturalization appointment in Berlin, especially if your appointment is before 12, there is the mobile Bürgeramt where you can already apply for your passport after you're done. My friend already gave me a heads up, so I just picked a number. If you're in this situation, just pick a number, because by the time you're out, it might take a while and they close at 12. So I picked a number, went in for the naturalization. When I was done, I just waited for my number to be called, and then I went in to meet the people over there to get my passport and ID card done. So the passport photo I came with was rejected because it didn't have a QR code. I just printed from DM. I didn't know that it needed to have a QR code. So I had to do a new passport while I was in the office. So just FYI, in case you're going, either get a passport that has a QR code or just go do it when you're in the office.
Another thing is that you're supposed to come with all of your current residence permit. The reason I say all is that sometimes you have the card and you have the supplementary sheet, which is the Zusatzblatt. Sometimes people come with only the card and forget the supplementary sheet. You need to come with the both of them, because now you're going to become a German citizen. Your residence permit becomes invalid. They'll collect your old residence permit from you, and then with your passport, you no longer need the residence permit, if you get the gist. Yeah. So it's important that you come with these two documents. Something to also keep in mind, especially if you're applying in Berlin, is that once you go for your ceremony, especially if your ceremony time is before 12 noon, the advice is that you get a spot for the mobile Bürgeramt. The mobile Bürgeramt is where you go to apply for the ID card and the passport. Usually, you can do this at the mobile Bürgeramt, or you do it in another Bürgeramt outside of the Einbürgerungs ceremony office. The reason for this is having your Einbürgerungsurkunde, it's not going to be what you're going to use to travel. For example, if you want to travel outside of Germany, mind you, they've collected your residence permit from you. So if you leave Germany, you can't come back with an Einbürgerungsurkunde. So you need your passport and your ID card. And the Einbürgerungsurkunde is just one copy worldwide. So it's important that you don't lose your Urkunde. The point is, make sure you get an appointment either at the mobile Bürgeramt or in another Bürgeramt closest to you. And while you go for the appointment at the mobile Bürgeramt or any of the Bürgeramts, please remember to apply for your Personalausweis. Mind you, what they automatically assume you're coming to apply for is Reisepass, which is your international passport, which will now be the German international passport. However, you need to inform them that you would also want an ID card, which is the Personalausweis. If you don't mention this, they probably would not know. I made the mistake. I was so excited I didn't remember to ask for Personalausweis. Luckily, the person that attended to me already applied for it on my behalf. So when I went to pick up my passport, I asked them for the Personalausweis, and he confirmed that he had already applied for it. And then for me, I got a digital tracker to track my application. For some Bürgeramts, they might not give you a digital tracker. They might tell you to come approximately 4 weeks or 6 weeks after the appointment date to pick up your documents. If you applied for the fast track, it takes approximately 7 days after your application date to pick it up. So just check what works best for you in your Bürgeramt, but make sure you confirm from them the best way to pick it up. In my own case, I had the digital tracker. Immediately it was ready, I received a notification to go to the Bürgeramt and pick it up. So anyways, just to summarize all the plenty things that we've been saying here, once you want to apply for your Einbürgerungs, first things first is to make sure that you're qualified for the application. Then you get your language in order, you get your Einbürgerungstest sorted, you begin to gather your documents. The ones that take a long time, already start the process as soon as possible so that it cuts through the time for you. Once you send in your application, remember to send a follow-up a couple of months after you've sent in your application, not every single month. Send a follow-up email to know the status of your application afterwards, and remember to add your reference number. And when you finally go for your Einbürgerung ceremony, make sure to also pre-book a termin at the Bürgeramt
to get your passport and your ID card sorted out. To make this whole process seamless and easy for you, I've made a free downloadable guide in the description box that gives you a walk through the process, every office, every single document, the wait time, everything you need at the tip of your fingers. Just go to the description box and download it for yourself. If this video saved you time, hit the like button and the subscribe button as well, so that you can get notifications whenever I post videos like this on my channel. If you're currently in the process of getting your naturalization, let me know in the comments what has been your wow factor so far, what has shocked you the most throughout this whole process. If you've already gone through this yourself and you're already naturalized, congratulations. Share also in the comments what your experience was so far, so that we can all learn from your experience. Naturally, if you've enjoyed this video, you might like the next video on a deep dive on Einbürgerungstest. So click on it and stay engaged in this channel, and I'll see you in my next video. Ciao.